people. Okay, and I wanted to big thank you to our presenter today, Ann Marie Strozynski-McCrandall. Ann Marie retired from 39 years as an educator, and for 34 of those years, she taught English as a second language in Hamtramck to students ranging from kindergarten through 12th grade. And over those years, she saw all the waves of immigration that have happened here in the Detroit area from different parts of the world. So she has a ton of experience working with English language learners from all different parts of the world. And when she retired, we were really blessed when she contacted Oakland Literacy and offered to volunteer as a tutor. So she is one of our tutors. She also works privately as an ESL tutor. And today she's going to give you some tips on helping your student with pronunciation. There will be times during her presentation when we'll take a pause so that you can ask questions and also engage in some of the activities. This is just scratching the surface of what you can do to help your students speak more clearly. So if we have time at the end, we'd like to hear from you about what else your student might be struggling with that maybe we could offer another workshop on pronunciation in the new year. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Ann Marie to get started.
Hello, good afternoon. Nice to see everyone. As Lori said, the presentation is going to be in 3 parts. We're going to open it up to questions after each part. So if you would hold your questions until then, that would be really great. And we can start sharing.
If you have questions on the way, you can feel free to type them into chat if you want, and we can always address them when we take those pauses.
Much of the information that I'm going to share with you today came from an organization called Literacy Minnesota. Last year alone, they trained over 3,000 tutors. So this information was used as part of their tutoring. So the objectives for today's presentation are to understand 2 different pronunciation features and how they impact intelligibility. And intelligibility is how well the speaker is understood when speaking. And the 2 pronunciation features that we are going to talk about today are voice quality settings and word stress. The second objective that we are going to cover today is that I'm going to share with you different activities that you can integrate into your lessons on pronunciation. So what exactly is pronunciation? It is how we produce the sounds that we use to make meaning when we speak. There are many features for pronunciation: voice quality settings, word stress, timing, rhythm, intonation, and phrasing, to name a few. And in the hour today, we are going to talk about the first 2, voice quality settings and word stress. So what should our goal be in pronunciation with our students? We should help our English language learners develop the pronunciation skills that allow them to achieve comfortable intelligibility in English, where they can be understood when they speak English. Our goal should not be to reduce or eliminate their accent, but to focus on their intelligibility. And our focus should also be on which pronunciation feature will give them the biggest impact on their intelligibility. As you saw that there are many, start with the one that you think will give you the biggest bang for your buck and work on that first, and then work on the others. and then incorporate these into the lesson. So what exactly is voice quality settings? It's the movement of the throat, the vocal cords, the mouth, the jaw, the lips, and the tongue that happen when a language is spoken by a native speaker. Every language has its own set of voice quality settings. If an English language learner speaks English using the voice quality setting of their native language, it may be difficult to understand them. So helping our English language learners become aware of voice quality settings for English can make it easier for them to produce the sounds and intonation of English, and therefore allow them to be better understood. So we are going to take a look at how we move our mouth when we speak. I am going to show you a video. It has no sound, and I want you to watch the woman's mouth. What does she do when she is speaking? Okay. Okay, now I would like you in the chat box to write down some of the responses. What did you see her mouth do? Okay, smile. Open, close, good. Okay, she moved her mouth. She was pressing her lips. Her mouth opened and closed in various sizes. You saw the tongue, the jaw moved, very good. She had facial expressions, good. Okay, so we saw that her mouth was open. We saw that you sometimes could see her teeth. You could sometimes see her tongue, and her lips were moving. What language do you think she was speaking? If you could write that, answer in the chat box. Okay, she was speaking English. And all of the things that you had said about what you saw her mouth doing are the things that we do when we speak English. So we want our students to learn how to use an American mouth. We want them to open their mouth when they speak. We may want to see their teeth. We may want to see them use their tongue. We also want them to move their lips. Those are all characteristics of what we call an American mouth. Now I am going to show you a video of another person, and again, no sound. And I would like you to watch what his mouth does. Okay, if you would write in the chat box what you saw his mouth do. Okay, barely opens. The lips don't move, tight lips. Okay. Did you see his teeth? Okay, did not show the teeth. How about his tongue? Were you able to see his tongue? Okay, and what language do you think he was speaking? Okay, Viet, Korean, Japanese. Okay, he was speaking English, but he was using a Korean mouth. And so when you are speaking English, you want to use an American mouth. When our English language learners make their mouth more like an American, it will be easier to make the sounds and easier to understand them. So now we are going to go to our first activity. We are going to practice using an American mouth. And in order for this activity to work, you will need to see me and yourself on the screen. Okay, so let's go over, these are the words that we are going to use for the activity. I'm going to read over the words: table, calendar, magazine, toothpaste, sofa, computer. Okay, now I would like you to repeat the word after me using an American mouth, which means to exaggerate the pronunciation so that we could see your teeth, your tongue, your lips are moving, your mouth is moving. So let's start with the first word, table. Everyone repeat, table. Okay, exaggerate the pronunciation. Okay, let's go to the next one, calendar. Calendar, calendar. And we want to do it slowly with our students so that they can get the movement of their mouth. The next word, magazine. 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 Okay, and the next word, toothpaste. 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 And the next word, sofa. 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 And the last word, computer. 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 And I know that our students may feel a little uncomfortable exaggerating, but this activity is to try to get them to move their mouth, to open their mouth when they speak, unlike the person who was speaking English using a Korean mouth. It's to exercise their mouth. And I know that they may feel a little uncomfortable, but it will pay off at the end. Okay, so now the second activity, I am going to mouth the words without sound. And I want you to watch my lips and repeat the words with no sound. So you would have your student look into the monitor as they are saying the word and they are comparing their mouth with your mouth. So the first word. And then you would help them pronounce the words and you would do the correction after each word. The the next word. Let's practice the next one. And the next word. And the next one. And then the last word. So then the next activity you would do is you would mouth a word and have the student guess what word you are mouthing. So I am going to mouth a word, and if you could write the word in the chat box. So the first word. Okay, magazine, very good. How about this word? Okay, computer, good. Next one. Good. And the last one. Good. And then the last part of this activity, you would have the student mouth the word, and then you would guess the word. Okay, so to recap voice quality settings, the first thing you are going to do if you do this activity with your students is you want to build an awareness. So you would show them the two videos. You would show them the English speaker video, ask them what they see the mouth doing. You would show them the foreign language speaker video, ask them what the mouth is doing, and talk about the similarities and the differences. This part of the activity, you really only need to do once because this is giving you the basis for the voice quality setting lesson. Then you would use your words from whatever vocabulary words you are using in your lesson. Remember the exaggerated movements. Remember to have them see the tongue, the teeth, to move your lips, to move your mouth. And then if they are more proficient, you might have them do sentences with the vocabulary words. And the last part of the activity is to then have them do the lip reading, again, using the vocabulary words that you are working on at the time. So, what are some other ways that you could practice voice quality settings? If you could write that in the chat box. What else could you use to work on voice quality settings? A mirror, yes. Have the students repeat it until it sounds correct. Watch TV with the sound off, okay? Videotaping, yes. Have them record themselves. Okay, I don't quite understand. See if Google Voice Recognition understands. Oh, talking into Google Voice and see what it prints as the word that they are saying. That's a good one. Yeah. So are there any questions on this first activity of how to teach voice quality settings?
Well, hey, I have one question.
Yeah.
Obviously, you studied it, and so has this Minnesota and everyone. But it is true then that American English has wider mouth movements versus, I don't know what, Asian languages for sure.
Yes, definitely. There are some languages like Spanish and Polish that have a similar mouth to an American mouth. So you wouldn't have to do as much work with people speaking those languages, but it's the Asian languages where they tend to speak with a closed mouth. Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say the British also talk in the same way?
They speak the English, but sometimes their mouth doesn't move like an American. So even if they speak the English language, as we saw with the Korean speaker, not using an American mouth, the focus is more on the mouth moving and opening.
Okay.
Marie, there was a question from somebody about asking what your thoughts are on having a student record themselves and then listen to the recording afterward. Do you have an opinion on that?
I don't know if I would do that because the focus is more on the visual where their mouth is actually moving. And I don't know what the recording would actually do as to help that, because you're working more on getting the mouth to move. Okay, Teresa, you were saying something about your student is from France and has a specific accent. What does your student's mouth do when it moves when they speak? Do they speak with an open mouth? Do they speak with a closed mouth?
I think I need to answer that instead of typing all
Okay.
that.
Uh-huh.
You know what? Now that you're saying that, I just met her yesterday, and
Okay.
I don't necessarily pay attention to her mouth. I kind of listen to when she's saying specific words, when she's trying to pronounce those words. Her enunciation she struggles with it, but now that I'm witnessing this, I guess I'll have to focus on her mouth, I've had Asian students before, and so I know the difference, and I haven't noticed how the difference in her mouth. But
yeah, and with students that have a specific accent, like another student that I'm working with has a Polish accent and a very strong Polish accent. And so there are certain sounds that are very difficult for him to make. And so then we work specifically on those sounds and making the mouth move to make those sounds. So for your student, you may just have to look at the sounds that they are having a difficult time making and then work with those sounds.
okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Hugh, would this activity be of value? I mean, if you can understand the person, no, you really don't have to do this activity. It's basically using this activity to help the mouth move so that they can be better understood.
Okay, well, for my student, there are certain things that I can't I can't understand what she's saying.
Okay, are they certain sounds
Yeah,
then?
yeah, so like the terminal TH sound, for example.
Yes, yeah,
in
and
Spanish is
I'll
difficult.
talk about that at the end. There's another video, another piece of information that I will share with you, but there are many languages that do not have the TH sound.
Yes,
And so in that case, it would help if you would just work with her on making the TH sound.
okay,
This
yeah,
activity, this exercise is more for a student that has a very closed mouth,
I
like
see.
the Korean, the person using the Korean mouth. If
Okay,
they have a mouth that opens and it's free when they speak, this would not be an activity for them.
okay, but it's good to know for the future.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anne
Okay.
Marie, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm not sure I'm sending the chat messages properly because it haven't got through apparently. I'm working with a woman from Vietnam
Mhm.
who customarily does not pronounce the last few letters, especially the final consonants, the TH included. And you've mentioned that Asian languages speakers usually do not open the mouth very wide. Is it also true that they don't use or pronounce final consonants?
Yes. And at the end of this presentation, I have a sheet that will show you the different pronunciation challenges of various languages. And we're going to go over some of those challenges. And that's going to be at the end of this presentation.
Great, that would be very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we will talk about an activity that you can use to get them to say the less consonants.
I
Okay.
need that. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, any other questions before we go to word stress? Okay, so let's go on to our next topic, and our next topic is word stress. For words with 2 or more syllables, one syllable is pronounced more strongly than the other, and the stressed syllable is either pronounced longer, louder, or higher in pitch. So I want you to take a look at this video. Okay. And it kind of brings home, oh no, that's not what I want. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, it brings home the reason why we need to work on word stress. No, that's not okay. Okay.
Has finally made an appearance. That face wouldn't be doing that if you weren't staying at a Verbo Lake House. Your together awaits. Find it with Verbo.
Okay, hon. All right, then I'll see you around 10. All right, bye-bye. Listen, Carrie's not gonna make it home for dinner, so I'm gonna order us some pizza.
From where?
From Sal's.
Sal's, have you lost your mind?
Okay, not Sal's. Then from where?
Okay.
Little neighborhood joint called
Okay, hon.
Domino's.
All right, then I'll see you around 10.
Oh, be patient, please.
Domino's?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, what's the number?
It's 17.
Okay, let's try this again.
Okay, hon. All right, then I'll see you around 10. All right, bye-bye. Listen, Carrie's not gonna make it home for dinner.
Oh, what is going on?
Okay, hon. All right, then I'll see you around 10. All right, bye-bye. Listen, Carrie's not gonna make it home for dinner, so I'm gonna order her some pizza.
From where?
From Sal's.
Sal's, have you lost your mind?
Okay, not Sal's. Then from where?
A little neighborhood joint called Domino's.
Domino's?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, what's the number?
It's 1718-1168-011.
Look, I have way too many numbers, okay?
I gave you the area code.
We're in the area code. I don't need to dial it.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
1168.
Okay, you know what? How about a little phone number rhythm, huh? You know, a little bum bum ba, bum ba, bum ba. Got it?
I got it.
Okay.
1,
Yeah.
6,
Yep.
teen.
I already dialed the 6. I can't go back in time and slip a 1 in.
Well, whose fault is that?
I'm making a sandwich. Why don't you order from McDonald's?
Okay, so many languages do not have stress patterns. Some languages use a monotone when they speak. Therefore, it is important to teach our students about word stress. So we are going to do some activities to practice syllable and word stress. We are going to clap the syllables. We are going to raise our hands for stress syllables. For example, the word prescription, the stress syllable is the second syllable, so it would be prescription. And then we are going to stretch the word stress by using a rubber band. And these are the words that we are going to use in this activity. So if you would say the words after me: work, overtime, children, provider, daycare. Now let's go over the words, and for each syllable we are going to clap. So for example, if we look at the word work, how many syllables in the word work? 1. So we are going to say work. We just clap when we say the word work. If we look at the next word, overtime, how many syllables in that word? Okay, 3. So we are going to clap for each syllable. Overtime. Overtime. And we'll do it one more time. Overtime. Okay, let's go to the next word, children. How many syllables in children? Okay, 2. So you show me, what would it look like if you clapped out the word children? Okay, you would have 2 claps, children. Very good. How about the word provider? How many syllables in that word? 3. Okay, show me how you would clap that word out. Okay, provider. Good. And the last word, daycare. How many syllables in that word? Okay, and what would that word look like if you were going to clap it out in syllables? Okay, daycare. Good. So now in English, if a word has one syllable, like work, it's easy. The stress is on the whole word, work. If a word has 2, 3, or more syllables, then one syllable is going to be strong and the other syllables not so strong. So let's look at the word children. When we say the word children, which syllable has the stress on it? If you can write the answer in the chat box. Okay, we say children. The syllable is on the, or the stress is on the first syllable. We don't say children. We don't say children. We say children. So the stress is on the first syllable. Very good. How about the word overtime? What syllable is the stress on in that word? Overtime. Okay, it's on the first syllable. So we say overtime. We don't say overtime, or we don't say overtime, which changes the whole definition of the word. We say overtime. Okay, how about the word provider? Where is the syllable stress in that word? Provider. Okay, good. It's on the second syllable. So we say provider. We don't say provider, and we don't say provider. We say provider. Very good. So now let's use our hand to show word stress. So if we look at the word children, we said that the stress was on the first syllable. So with our hand, we would raise the hand for the stressed syllable, and then we would lower it for all of the unstressed syllables. So when we say children, we say children. And we want to add the kinesthetic movement so that our students are using more senses. The more senses they use, the more information will be retained. So now let's look at the word daycare. We said that the stress was on the first syllable. What would the word daycare look like if you used your hands? Okay, we'd raise it for day, and then we would lower it for care. Very good. How about the word overtime? What would overtime look like using your hands? Okay, we would raise it for the O because that's the stress, and then we would lower it for ver and time. So it would look overtime. Very good. And how about the word provider? We said that the stress was on the second syllable. What would the word look like if you were to use your hands to show the stress for provider? Okay, so I would keep it low for pro, then I would raise it for vi, and then I would lower it for der. So provider. Okay, very good. So we can do one more activity, and in this case, we would use a rubber band. So if you have a rubber band available, I'll give you a few minutes to go look for a rubber band if you have one. Okay, so in this case, we are going to stretch the rubber band on the stressed syllable. So if we look at the word work, the stress is on the whole word. So we would say work, work. Okay, looking at the word children, we said the stress was on the first syllable, so it would look like this: children, children. Okay, how about overtime? What would it look like if you would stretch out the stress syllable in the word overtime? You would stretch it for O and then ver time. Overtime. And the next word, provider. We know that the stress is on the second syllable, so we would say provider, provider. Okay. So now to recap, when teaching word stress, you want to start with the syllable activity to make sure that your students understand syllables. So you may want to tap it on your hand, or you may want to clap, or they could tap on a desk. Again, using their vocabulary words that you are working on with them. You can either have them move the word stress, or you could have them stretch the word stress. Okay, what other ways could you practice word stress with them? Using limericks, yes, definitely. Ask them to underline the stress syllable. And then that's another modality, the writing part. So again, the more modalities you use, the better it would be to make this information stick with them. Okay, instead of using a rubber band, using fingers. Could you explain that, Bill?
Well, instead of having a rubber band in your hand, just kind of go like this.
Okay.
And, so I'll do that with my student when I want them to put stress on the word. I'll just draw it out like you have a rubber band.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so any questions on word stress? Break up the words with spacing. Yep. Mouthing the words and exaggerating the stress syllable. You could do that. Yep. Again, the more modalities you use in the activity, the more it becomes part of the student, and it will stick with the student longer. Okay, any other questions? Okay, the last part, Lori is going to be sending you a handout with various languages and pronunciation challenges that the speakers of those languages have. And I have a sheet here with just some pronunciation features of the Arabic language. And then we also talked about the consonants at the end of the words being omitted. So let's go over this sheet. The Arabic language does not have the P sound. So our students may substitute the B for the P. So if your student is doing that, the first thing you want to do is have them work on being able to pronounce the B sound and the P sound. Once they have learned how to pronounce the B sound and the P sound, you want to work on groups of words. And these words are called minimal pairs. And what a minimal pair is, it's words that sound alike, except for the consonant sound that you are working on. So for example, at the beginning of the word, ban, pan, or bay, pay. You want to work on those sounds also in the middle of the word. So mobbing, mopping. It's a little more difficult to think of some words with the consonant sound in the middle. And then you want to work with the consonant sound at the end, such as the word robe and rope. The Arabic language does not have the V sound. And so our students may substitute an F sound for a V sound. So again, the first thing you would do with a student in that situation is you would work on the F sound and the V sound in isolation. Then you would take a group of words that sound the same except for changing the V and the F, such as van and fan. The letters in the middle of the word, safer, saver. And the letters at the end of the word, leaf, leave. Many languages do not have the TH sound. So our students tend to substitute with the T sound or the D sound. In this case, we need to teach them the TH sound. And you would start with teaching them the unsound TH. Have them place their tongue between their teeth. And it doesn't have to be through the teeth. It just has to be laying on the teeth like this. And then have them blow. And many of the problems with the student making the TH sound is that they don't relax the tongue. So you need them to try to relax the tongue to make the sound. Think, thing, thistle. Once they have learned to make the sound, the unsounded TH, then you would ask them to add vibration in their throat to make the th sound. This, the, that. Okay. Some languages do not have consonant clusters. They do not have two consonants paired together. So what the speaker tends to do is they tend to break up those two letters, such as the word price. Instead of price, they say price. Instead of the XT in next, they say next. Instead of spring, they separate the S sound and the P sound and they say spring. So an activity that you could do with them to help them with that challenge is to say, for example, the word is split. So break the word up. First, we say sit. Then we say pit. Then we put the two sounds together, sp, it. And then we would work on the three sounds, split, split. And the last one I'd like to talk about is the omitting of consonants at the end of the words. And an activity that you can use with your students on that is to sound the word out backwards. Say, for example, the word is start, and they are having a problem with saying the T sound at the end. What you would do is you would have them start from the back of the word. So we would say, t. Then we would sound out the last two letters, r, t. Then we would sound out the last three letters, art. Then we would sound out the last four letters, tart. And then the last one, we would say the word start. Okay, so are there any questions?
I just wanted to jump in and say that the full worksheet that has the pronunciation challenges for all of the major language groups we serve here at Oakland Literacy, I just popped that into the chat. It's a PDF. You can click on it to save it to your computer. I also gave you a link to a folder on SharePoint, which has the copies of the slides from today, this worksheet, as well as links to those videos with the English speaker and the Korean speaker if you wanted to do this exercise with your student. You can just click on that link in the chat as well.
So that is the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
And this is Paul. I have a question. I've seen online some paragraphs written by people that have supposedly all English sounds in them. Do you ever use those and have them practice reading those paragraphs that supposedly contain all the English sounds?
Oh, okay, words that's a good idea. You're talking about a paragraph that has words that have all, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Carol, Asian students that, that have trouble with R and L. Question, are they able to make the sounds, or do they substitute the sounds?
Sorry, I had my sound off. It seems when I repeat a word that has those letters in it, they don't actually hear the sound of an R, or they don't hear the sound of an L, and they can't replicate it. Okay. So it comes out as the opposite.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And so in that case, it would be pretty much using words like this, where you would have a word that is similar that begins with an R and begins with an L, such as like rand and land, so that they see the difference between the two sounds. So the first thing you would do is you would work on them making the sounds and then giving them the minimal pairs words so that they can see the difference between the two sounds. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but I can do that over and over again. Like say the word robe. I'm looking at your chart in front of me, using the word robe, for example, and it will come out lobe. And no
Right.
matter how many times I say ride, rift, ring, it comes out an L.
Okay, and so then I guess my question is, does it affect the understanding when that person speaks?
In other words, are you asking me, do they understand the meaning of the word?
No, I'm saying that if someone heard them talk to them, does that problem with the R and the L get in the way of them being understood?
In some cases, yes.
Okay.
Carol, I'll just jump in because I have my student, she'll say like work and world, and they sound like the other word. And I have gone up to my camera on Zoom and said, look, I'm saying the L, and this is where my tongue is. When I say that, I'd like slow down the pronunciation and have her try to mimic my mouth movements. And that has seemed to help.
But it also sounds like they're not hearing that sound.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I like, for me, it is some kind of mystery that they cannot hear that sound.
Right.
I'll keep working on it.
They might be trying to translate, almost like translate in their mind back to their own language. And then it comes out with this pronunciation. I don't know if that could be the problem.
I don't know. I'll have to look that one up and let me see. And if I find some information, I can give it to Lori.
Yeah, I've had at least 3 Asian students, and the RL sound is a problem and has been a problem with all of them. In fact, they'll even call their children and they'll say, listen to what mommy is saying. Is this right? And the children are going, no, mommy, that's not right.
There are exercises you can find online, Carol. I think EnglishClub.com is one where they can listen to minimal pairs with L and R and maybe just try to train their ear.
You can also do like when you were back in the choir in high school and do la 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 la, ra 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 ra, you know, very exaggerated, but with the tone, and make them each different. Make the ra a different tone or note than the la, and have them practice that at home in front of a mirror, just like you did in choir practice when you went up and down the scale.
Appreciate your suggestions. Thanks so much.
And then Bill, as far as your Spanish speaking student that doesn't say the S but puts a sound before the S, that is going to require that you just teach them the S sound, because in their language, they put that E before the S. And so again, getting words with an E at the beginning and an S at the beginning, but the rest of the word is sound the same, and have them work on that and see if they can tell the difference.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann Marie. I appreciate your time. I want to be respectful of everybody else's time. I'm going to pop a quick poll up in front of you. If you can just give us some quick feedback on this workshop. I will follow up with an email so that you all have access to the links to the materials, and I will double check that website for minimal pairs and add that in the email as well. Thank you all.